Last night it was, not expected to be a victory because they got good age. I don't think it was good for Republicans. I don't think it was good. I'm not sure it was good for anybody. But we had an interesting evening and we learned a lot.
Hello, I'm Dr. Haydée Brown.
And I'm Dr. Sonya Sloan.
And we are AYA,
Black and Brown Women Disruptors in Healthcare and Beyond.
All right, y'all. So we are ready to unpack what we are calling, that everyone's calling, the blue wave across the United States. For the first time in American history, 14 women governors will hold office simultaneously for the first time ever. And even beyond the numbers, this moment really signals a real shift in who holds power and what it means for women of color stepping into executive leadership. So the midterm elections, these rather off-season elections, have really sent some clear messaging that voters across key states have delivered decisive wins for the Democrats. They've flipped, reclaimed, and reshaped offices that have long been under GOP or mixed control. Let's roll the next clip.
Overnight, a Democratic sweep in high-profile elections nationwide. In New York City, Democratic socialist Zohran Mamdani capping a stunning political rise, becoming the first Muslim mayor of the nation's largest city.
Together, we will usher in a generation of change.
The 34-year-old state assemblyman running a grassroots campaign, focusing on rising prices, including proposals like free buses and childcare and city-owned grocery stores. Defeating former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who ran as an independent, and said Mamdani would wreck the city's economy, also focusing on his past criticism of Israel and previous calls for defunding the police, which Mamdani says he no longer supports. President Trump threatening to withhold funds from the city if Mamdani won, and endorsing Cuomo late in the race. Last night, Mamdani addressing him directly.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
Turn the volume up. In a stunning upset that signals real change for America's biggest city, 34-year-old Zohran Mamdani has been elected mayor of New York City. He is the youngest in over a century and the city's first Muslim and first South Asian mayor. He also got over 1 million votes, which is record-breaking. So New York has always been this melting pot, right? A city built on dreams, hustle, and hope. And Mayor-elect Mamdani's official initiatives aim to make this all more affordable. So his campaign is centered on bold, working-class promises, such as freezing rents on REIT-stabilized units, pushing the minimum wage towards $30 an hour, making buses free, and reimagining an inclusive economy that truly works for New Yorkers. And take it from a New Yorker, many people hop on the back of the bus anyways. It really slows down these buses. So making buses free can make us a lot more efficient and fast and able to work. So for all of these so-called mass exodus of New Yorkers, voters just chose a mayor who's betting on staying power through affordability and inclusion, and he has huge visions. But with his big vision comes big questions. Can he turn that grassroots energy into effective leadership in what's often called the toughest municipal job in America? You know, the irony, the reason why so many of the billionaire class is threatening to leave New York is because of an increase in taxes. And the irony is that the billionaire class actually spent more trying to stop him than he plans to collect in new taxes. So for women, for people of color, for the next generation of disruptors, Mamdani's victory is such a signal. It's a signal that the doors are opening, the narrative is shifting, and representation is finally catching up to reality. And already he's selected in a very experienced all-women transition team. So it wasn't only New York City that's been making history, right, Dr. Sloan? Let's roll the next clip.
The president also a central figure in New Jersey, where Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill becomes the state's first Democratic woman governor, beating Trump-backed Jack Ciattarelli. In a race that was not as close as expected, Sherrill, a former Navy pilot and federal prosecutor, drawing parallels between her opponent and Trump throughout the race.
This vote, you guys just scream from the rooftops.
In Virginia, Democrat and former CIA officer Abigail Spanberger making history as the state's first woman to be elected governor. Spanberger focusing on the economy while promising to stand up to President Trump's moves to slash the federal workforce.
In 2025, Virginia chose pragmatism over partisanship.
President Trump trying to distance himself from the election results, posting overnight Trump wasn't on the ballot and shutdown were the two reasons that Republicans lost elections tonight, according to pollsters.
According to Trump, right? And so from our perspective, it's even more often deeper than just these party lines, you guys. Voters are looking not just at healthcare or reproductive rights, but economic stability, education, equity, right? So in Virginia, for example, the Democrats swept the statewide offices, the governor's race, the lieutenant governor's race, the attorney general's race, like all three of those were blown out, blue wave. And then the Democratic candidates that ran through the messaging of stability, pragmatism, and protecting what? Reproductive health rights for women. Those were the things that voters turned out and responded to. So Democrats, yes, swept key states in this 2025 November election in an early referendum against Trump. So what does that really mean? This blue wave, what does it signal? We're going to break this down. First, let's start with Virginia. Democrats regain full control of the executive branch. So important right now. And the governor's race with the Democratic Abigail Spanberger, the down ballots offices also went to Democrats. And then in New Jersey, Democrats held the governor's mansion, again, signaling stability in blue territory. These are all so important. Statewide ballot moves in so many different states. We can get into that later on, but Democrats made the gains, you guys. Whether we're flipping the seats or securing defensive wins, we'll take the win, the blue win. So Dr. Brown, what we see in both swing and traditionally blue states, Democratic bend, when aligning with local concerns of healthcare, like what we're concerned about, education, labor, reproductive rights, that's what's winning right now. So I think after this historic, what we saw last year, Dr. Brown, it's been a year from after seeing, Kamala Harris, who could have been the president of this country right now, and us not dealing with Project 2025. This was not just a win for Democrats, but it was also a significant win for women and communities of color. Let's roll this clip.
In a time where people are trying to erase Black history, November 4th, 2025, Election Day, Black people said, well, we're just going to keep writing it. Statewide, Dr. Dale Caldwell became the first Black man elected lieutenant governor of New Jersey. Jay Jones became the first Black man elected attorney general in Virginia. Dr. Alicia Johnson became the first Black woman elected to the Public Service Commission in Georgia. She's also one of the first Democrats to flip that seat since 2006. There's a new Black sheriff in town. Jackie Salvatore made history, becoming the first Black woman elected sheriff in Columbia County, New York.
And it just goes on, Dr. Brown, on and on and on. There were so many seats that turned blue, but specifically for Black and brown people.
We celebrate a turning point, right? We have a blue wave driven by issues and representation and shifting battleground states. Now, one that affirms that Black and brown communities, and specifically women of color, matter. And that's because we are emerging into a multicultural democracy here in the United States. So we are not just part of the change, we are the change. So on November 4th, 2025, voters upheld a wave of progress across the country. And amongst the most inspiring stories of the night are those of Black women whose victories will ripple way far beyond their own offices. So let's just go through a few of those names. In Detroit, you have Mary Sheffield, who's elected the first woman and first Black woman mayor of the city. She's 38. We have in Georgia, Alicia M. who won a statewide seat for the Public Service Commission, becoming the first Black woman in Georgia elected to a statewide executive office. And in Mississippi, we have Theresa Gillespie Isom, who flipped a state Senate seat, becoming the first woman and the first African-American to represent her county in state Senate. So this is all part of this broader structural shift that's broken this GOP supermajority, which is great news. And what do these wins tell us? They tell us that the electorate's ready. It's ready for Black women who carry the lived experience of inequity, the professional experience of navigating complex systems, and the resolve to lead. They tell us that these old formulas, these barriers, the tokenism, it's not going to work anymore. It's crumbling. And it also tells us that representation matters. So when Black women sit at the table, policy speaks differently. Community voices are amplified, justice finds a firmer footing. So to Black women everywhere watching and listening, this is your moment too. Not just because seats were won, but because doors have been unlocked. I would say they've been kicked open, actually. Pathways have been cleared and expectations have been elevated. And so these aren't isolated events. They are the start of a pattern and a strong rebuke of GOP leadership. So a new baseline for leadership, for governance, and for who gets to shape our collective future. And it should definitely reflect the country, which is very multicultural. So as we celebrate, let us also just commit that we will support these leaders. We will hold them accountable and we will amplify their agendas. Getting them elected is just the beginning. The hard work starts now. So we will mentor this next wave, build the pipelines, and face the resistance, because a win on November 4th is important, right? But it's the work and the follow through and the changing of systems that creates a lasting legacy. So Dr. Sloan, as we say, congratulations to Mary Sheffield, Alicia Johnson, and Theresa Gillespie Isom. Her story, H-E-R, story, is still being made. What do you say, Dr. Sloan?
I mean, I agree. I'm so excited. It was just like literally chilling to watch it all unfold. And so what does this really mean? Again, for our professional roles as women, it's, change makers. They are the disruptors, right? What we represent. But here's the 3 takeaways. Representation matters. It always has. It always will. So what you want to do, GOP, with getting away with diversity, equity, inclusion, it's okay. It still matters and people want it. So when people look like you, they've lived the same experiences you have. Those are the power and the policy shifts change when people get behind that. And Black women and girls that are watching this, you have the possibilities despite what the current culture may say. The second big win here is that the candidates speak concretely about economic justice and healthcare and education and equity, not just the party slogans about winning, but we can borrow their leadership, but being clear and authentic and issue driven, if you will. And lastly, it's about engagement. It's not negotiable anymore, you guys. You have to get out there to vote. Voting does matter. And that's how we're going to build a change. So today, stay empowered, stay disruptive, and remember your seat at the table does matter with your vote. So we are AYA, contributors of the MeidasTouch Network and proud members of Meidas Mighty. Please subscribe, like, share, and follow for more updates. Have a great week.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.